I want to hear cannons. Three-step drop, throws on the end zone. Caught ball, touchdown Tampa Bay. Mike Evans reaches up with one hand and grabs it in. Here they go again, tempo mode, dropping the throw. Winston out, the gun goes to the left. It's intercepted into the 35. Outside the numbers to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 25, to the 20, to the 15-10. Mike Edwards, touchdown Tampa Bay. That's the dagger, my friend.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Fire the cannons, ladies and gentlemen. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are victorious in Week 9, taking down the LA Rams 16-13 in Raymond James Stadium. Welcome back to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live on YouTube today following the Buccaneers' victory at home. A much-needed victory went into this week, and the statement must-win game could not have been uttered anymore for Tampa Bay, who was 3-5 and looking to avoid a season-long free fall and their fourth loss in a row. The Buccaneers come up victorious against the team that took them out in the playoffs last season. Tom Brady and the offense gets it done, going 60-plus yards on the final drive. Cade Otton, the rookie tight end, with a touchdown to seal the deal and put the Bucs back on top. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host for the day from BucsNation.com, James Hill. The Bucs are 4-5, just like he drew it up, huh?
You know, it was a game. It was certainly a game. Rhett, I don't think that it can be stated enough how big this win was. Not just for, a come from behind win, but possibly just for the season. That not only did this possibly save Byron Leftwich's job, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it might have just saved the entire season, right? It was a game. It was not a pretty game, but a very tough, hard, earned win for the Bucs that has a lot of good implications. The Buccaneers are back in first place in the NFC South, which is some pretty darn good news.
Yeah, and with the landscape of the NFC starting to come to fruition, the Packers lost today to Detroit. So they fall to 3-6, and now the Bucs are starting to put some distance between themselves and some of those other teams that we have compared them to. LA now kind of a step behind where they were coming into this one. The Packers with their loss today. So the Buccaneers get first place back in the division and hopefully gain some ground in the NFC. Listen, we've been talking about a turnaround for the Bucs and how it hasn't been too late to turn things around, even though things have looked incredibly bleak for this ball club. If you're going to turn it around, this is where it starts, right? An ugly win is still a win for Tampa Bay, and I think there's a lot of things we can take away from this game that they did incredibly well tonight, as well as a few things that we can obviously still nitpick, and I think are still legitimate concerns going forward. But as we talk about a win for the first time in nearly a month, let's open things up and praise the defense, because if that 13-16 final score is indicative of anything, that this Bucs defense was on one tonight. I know Matt Stafford and the Rams haven't been the offensive juggernaut they were in 2021, but they shut them down tonight. And aside from a 69-yard Cooper Kupp touchdown, I thought he had a pretty quiet night as well.
Yeah, this defense, I thought, played very well in this game. And it's something that we've seen throughout the course of the season. They just get really tired whenever the offense is having their inefficiencies. And we saw some of that today, but they were able to pull out, a lot of tough, hard-earned stops for this defense and really make the most of it and be able to get a stop. A lot of guys stepped up. Vita Vea, I thought, had his best game in such a long time. The presence of Akeem Hicks was there. That was very much noted. Backup pass rusher Jannard Avery, I thought, did a really good job in the rotation. I think he's earned some more snaps moving forward. You also take a look at Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, I thought, had a really good game. That's just in the front seven. Levante David had some good plays. Devin White was actually pretty quiet overall, which in my opinion is kind of a good thing. Because you don't see him make a ton of plays, but you also don't see him make a ton of mistakes. That's good. The secondary I thought did good covering Cooper Kupp. They didn't do the best job in the world, but it's Cooper Kupp. He's always going to get some yards. He's always going to get some good plays. And I felt like they contained him about as well as they could have given the circumstances. So that was great. The defense really did step up in a big, big way today. And they definitely helped earn this victory for the Bucs in this one.
Obviously, we'll have the rest of the week to watch the game back and break down some film, see where the strengths and weaknesses were in this Bucs defense. But I thought the pass rush really defined this game. Early and often, they were getting after Matt Stafford, and that was something the Bucs just weren't able to do the 2 times they played the Rams in 2021. I thought the return of Akeem Hicks was definitely felt. And listen, with all those interior guys, they were eating good tonight. 2 sacks for Vita Vea, Polynesian Power, big number 5-0, who has stepped up quite a bit these last 2 and 3 weeks after being called out for a slow start to the season. And then Raheem Nunez-Roches also got after the quarterback and was able to record a sack tonight. Gerard Avery, as you mentioned, had himself a sack on the evening. So for Tampa Bay, I thought that, this defensive line really was the foundation for everything they were able to do well tonight. The Rams had tried committing to the run. I know they got a little more pass happy as the game went on, but even the run for LA didn't really get going all too much. They had that really big run from Darrell Henderson, which I think was a 20-plus yarder. But aside from that, there wasn't a ton of offensive production on the ground. So Darrell Henderson was their leading rusher, 12 carries for 56 yards, averaging 4.7 yards a carry. So that's definitely not good. But you can tell they got away from running the football as the game kind of went on. Number 34, Brown, was their second running back, 2 carries, 9 yards for him. Cam Akers had 5 carries for 3 yards. They even tried to give Cooper Kupp 3 carries. He only got a yard on all of those. So, for the first time in 3 or 4 weeks, it seemed like this run defense was kind of playing up to the standard that they should have been.
Yeah, and it's tough with the Rams to kind of gauge the overall success, because the Rams aren't necessarily a team that runs the football a lot. But
yeah, they kind of struggle just as bad as the Bucs have up until this point in the season. That's important to mention too.
Yeah, but overall, it still was a really good job for the defense, especially dealing with that creativity that you see out of Sean McVay. As I said, the front seven I thought did a fantastic job. A lot of guys stepped up. That you could tell that this team, especially, at the end, you could tell this team, they needed this win, and they were able to get it. Running the ball wasn't really a factor. I was kind of surprised the Rams didn't run it more whenever they were up as long as they were, because I believe at one point it was 13-6, I believe, something along those lines, or maybe even a little bit more. It might have been a 10-point lead for them. A little surprised they didn't run it more, but maybe that wasn't something that they were comfortable with doing. So all in all, I thought the front seven did a good job, not just in pass rushing, but in run blocking as well, even given the circumstances the Rams don't run a ton.
Yeah, it wasn't an offensive explosion for either of these teams tonight, but you are right. I'm surprised that the Rams didn't take more of a role in trying to run the clock down when they did have the lead, because they led for most of the game. The Buccaneers opened things up. They got the field goal on the opening drive, but it was all LA after that until the Buccaneers finally regained the lead in the last closing seconds of this game. I guess we should talk about the offense now. So this is the not so fun part. The defense, I thought the pass rush really stepped up tonight. We talked about the secondary keeping the passing attack under wraps for Matt Stafford, which they were unable to do last night. Levante David was making some great tackles. I thought Carlton Davis made some great plays behind the line of scrimmage. You started to feel his presence when he was popping up, tackling guys for, tackle for loss behind the line of scrimmage, which was good to see. He was coming up and making some plays. But on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know how to start, because yes, they did win the game, and that's most important. Shout out once again to Cade Otton, the rookie tight end, who got the game-winning touchdown from Tom Brady. Speaking of Tom Brady, his stat line looked like this: 36 for 58 passing, 280 yards, and 1 touchdown. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this, but I believe that is the most pass attempts Tom Brady has ever had in a Tampa Bay Buccaneer uniform. And even though he passed the ball 58 times tonight, he did become the first player in NFL history to eclipse 100,000 passing yards, a feat that even with guys like Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes playing, it's going to take them quite a long time to catch up to 100,000 total passing yards in their career. That also includes the playoffs. But what did you make of Brady's night? Only one touchdown for him, 280 yards. I mean, offensive execution was bad. There were a lot of drops tonight. I think 6 or 7 drops for Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, nobody was spared. And I thought Brady felt some pressure here and there, but I mean, overall, he did play well enough to win us the game at the end of it there. But what did you make of his performance tonight, throwing the ball as much as he did?
Yeah, well, firstly, regarding the 100,000 passing yards, right? I don't see that getting broken anytime soon. The next closest player is Drew Brees, and he's already retired, and 85,000 was his number. So he was 15,000 behind Brady. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be broken anytime soon. Like you said, maybe Mahomes has a chance, maybe Josh Allen has a chance, but I don't see that record being broken for a long, long time. Now, in the case of this game with Brady, his receivers did have some drops, right? They did. Godwin, Evan, you name it, a guy probably had at least one drop, right? But, and as much as it pains me to say this, Brady did have a couple of off throws. He was getting some pressure in his face. A couple of passes were almost intercepted. Some screen plays that I think a screenplay was almost intercepted twice.
Yeah, there were 2 near pick sixes in this game.
Right, and that could have changed the entire complexion of this game to where it could have possibly been a blowout if that was the case. So Brady did okay. He obviously led the team to a game-winning drive, which is obviously amazing, right? That's great. And the final drive of the first half, I believe, they moved the ball really well as well. But aside from those 2 drives, the offense continued to look pedestrian, right? They weren't able to move the ball a ton or have great success, especially in the red zone again. It just looked like the same, right? And I'm sure you can attest to this. Until the final drive of the game, this looked like the typical mediocre, below average offense that we have seen. And I don't mean to nitpick and sound pessimistic over a win. It's obviously great that they won, but there's still some issues there. This offense did not look like the offense still that we have seen in years past. And you take away that final drive, you take away the final drive of the first half as well, and you have some really mediocre offense that can move the football, sure, but is still getting 3 and outs, is still having to settle with field goals and having some issues in the red zone. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So had a couple of good moments for sure, but ultimately still struggled pretty mightily. And the Rams do have a very, 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 very good defense, but good offenses shouldn't automatically crumble whenever they meet good defenses.
I don't think you're nitpicking. Those are all valid observations. There are still some clear issues with this team on the offensive side of the ball. And, let's talk about Byron Leftwich, who obviously has been in the hot seat. Coming into this one, the Bucs had a 10-day break between Thursday night against Baltimore and today against LA. You would think after a 10-day break, and you would think after losing 3 straight games and not putting up very many points in those games, there would be some different folds to this offense. There maybe would be a layer of creativity or just some extra effort to try and mix some things up, but it did feel just like it always has. And luckily the Bucs come out on the right side of this one and they take home the victory, but there was as good of a chance that they lost that game on that final drive. Either due to Donovan Smith getting a holding penalty or, bad execution, a drop pass in the end zone like Scotty Miller had on the 3rd and goal, which, very well could have ended the game. I mean, it's one of those things where they came up right when they needed to, and the timing was awesome, and we are incredibly happy. I'm glad that we have, a victory Monday tomorrow for the first time in almost a month. But when you're playing teams that are better than the 3-4 Rams and, the division rivals that we have now, the Bucs play the Seahawks next week, who have Geno Smith and Pete Carroll, who, coming into the season, people didn't see Geno Smith having the season he's had. Not that he has been, leading the league in touchdowns, but you can tell that the Seahawks are just a well-coached team, and that's what has gotten them this far. And when I look at the Bucs and I look at their offense and I look at the game plan week after week, where it's like, tonight in the first half, how many first down runs did they have? When you basically decide to just set your first downs on fire, I'm surprised they're still finding ways to be able to move the ball, because there were a couple of times tonight where they came up short in the red zone, had a chance to score, didn't take it, elected to take the field goal, and the crowd booed, didn't like it there in the red zone. On third down, you gave it to Leonard Fournette up the gut, which is something that this team just can't do. I mean, week after week after week, we have seen Leonard Fournette come into the game on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and they just don't get it. They just do not pick it up. And they take the conservative approach. They settle for the field goal. And in the grand scheme of things, it won them the game because, the Ryan Suckup field goal that was blocked later that night, that's points that are left out there. And if you don't get that field goal to start the game, you're not playing for a touchdown to win at the end. So it's it goes both ways, but it's just situational awareness with this football team just doesn't feel like it's where it needs to be. There's a lot of questions still on the offensive side of the ball, and it seems like the same questions we've had for a month now, because you and I talked about it. It doesn't feel like a lot is changing with this offense to make them better. You know what I'm saying? Like Nick Leverett sitting in at the left guard spot, who played okay tonight. He had his hands full with Aaron Donald lining up over him a bunch in that Rams pass rush, but like that's the biggest move they've made on offense, and that's just because that's because of sheer necessity, with Luke Gedeke leaving the game due to injury, not playing tonight either. So it's like I haven't seen enough change to convince me that this offense is just going to roll, because they certainly didn't roll tonight. It was just a good situation for them, and it was Tom Brady being Tom Brady, which ultimately won the game. But like I don't even. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the offense. I kind of laid it out there. I'll end my ramble. James, if you want to pick up, you're more than welcome.
So me and you talked about this over on my channel after the game, or not after the game rather, but after the final drive. You saw Byron Leftwich give Tom Brady like the most endearing hug of all time, right? And I wholeheartedly believe that if the Bucs did not get the ball back and score that game-winning touchdown, that Byron Leftwich would not be the offensive coordinator for the Bucs anymore, right? Tom Brady saved Byron Leftwich's job, in my opinion, because there are still very distinct issues with play calling. Me and you had kind of tracked it a little bit during the game. I think they were like 12 of 17 for first down runs or something like that before like the final drives and stuff like that. And the Rams noticed it, and they started stopping these third down runs after a while. And there's just still issues with this play calling and issues with this offense, both in execution and in play calling. It's not just Byron Leftwich's fault. He would probably be the fall guy in this instance. Scotty Miller did drop a game-leading touchdown as well, but you got to have more efficiency from this offense. You have to. And we're still not seeing this. We're over to the halfway point of the season now. So the issues that are there, I feel like are going to be there for the remainder of the season. So it definitely begs the question of, well, okay, yeah, the Bucs got a tough win in this game, but how far can they really go? Because, there's still a lot of offensive issues there. And I think a lot of that is the stubbornness of Byron Leftwich. The first down run calling, I think, is just foolish at this point. It's bordering on parody right now, right? Where in my last stream,
you mean parody,
right? So it's just, yeah, it's there's still issues with this offense. They still only scored 16 points in this game. So Will Byron Leftwich be fired? No. I mean, they just won. You're not going to fire a guy after you win a game. But we still don't have any evidence that this offense is going to get much better despite the win. Now, they did have some good moments. As I said, the final drive before the end of the first half, the final drive that got them the lead in this game, those were some good drives. Guess what? It included a lot of passing. We need to see those types of drives more in games. I'm not saying every drive because that's just unrealistic, but you've got to see more, and not just moving the football, but really just trying to get some ways to score points, touchdowns, not settling for field goals. The red zone efficiency is still such a huge problem. So yeah, while the offense did have some good moments, they still have some stuff that they very, very much need to improve on. And I don't think the Buccaneers are out of the woods under any circumstances regarding this offense or Byron Leftwich's offensive coordinator.
Coming into this game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ranked last in the NFL for average rush attempts per game. They average right around 20 rushing attempts per game. Guess how many they had tonight?
20.
8 carries for Rachaad White, who is your leading rusher, 27 yards and an average of 3.4. Leonard Fournette had 9 carries for 19 yards and an average of 2.1. Keyshawn Vaughn also had his first action of the season, 2 carries for 4 yards. And then Chris Godwin had 1 carry for 1 yard. It's a screen pass, technically counts as a run. So technically 19 run plays for Tampa Bay. Which just simply isn't enough. But the lack of production can kind of show you why they got away from it when they needed to start to score some points. Because I think the offensive momentum tonight, whenever things did pick up, was simply because Tom Brady just started throwing the football. Like, it that's just, unfortunately, that's how it was tonight.
Well, look, and running the ball more, obviously, you're going to say, well, you can't get mad that they're running it on first down and then, say, well, why aren't they running the football more? The problem here is that
it's situational.
Yes, it's situational. You're not putting your offense in the best place to succeed. Why not do the reverse? Do a short little pass on first down and then run on second down so you have more manageable third downs. That's what I would want to see. But we're not seeing that. And again, I'm not a play caller, and criticizing play callers can sometimes be a very subjective thing. And it can depend on person to person. Other people may feel that Byron Leftwich is a fantastic play caller. I don't know. But that's just what I noticed. And especially like to the point of how much they were doing it through 3 quarters of this game was just not laughable, but just dumbfounding.
It's laughable, is a good word. Laughable. Yeah. You can laugh at it. I mean, it's historically bad production we're talking about here. Like, this isn't just bad for the Bucs. This isn't just bad as in bottom of the league ranked bad. I mean, this is some of the worst rushing offense we have seen in history. And it's unfortunate because, the situations that you're running the ball just aren't getting it done. We talked about the short yardage, the 3rd and 1 carries to Leonard Fournette where he's not able to break the plane and get a first down. Why not try it with Rachaad White every now and again, right? Why take Rachaad White out of the game to put Lenny in to not even get a yard? It's just one of those things where before we have seen some guys in this offense, carry momentum in games and kind of the same conversation we were having back in the day with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. You remember back in 2020, it was one of those things where, like, as soon as one of those guys was warming up, it seemed like this coaching staff yanked him out and then threw the other running back in there. And that offense was a hell of a lot more productive than what we have seen this year. But it is shades of just, why are we making these changes when we don't necessarily need to make them? Especially when the stats are showing us that Leonard Fournette on 3rd and 1 is not going to get you the yardage that you need, which is unfortunate. But let's talk about the passing numbers for Tampa Bay tonight. Cade Otton, the tight end rookie hero who saved the day and won the game. 5 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown tonight. Scotty Miller, 7 catches, 53 yards, no touchdown for him. Leonard Fournette, 5 catches for 41 yards. Mike Evans, 5 catches for 40. Chris Godwin, 7 for 36. Julio, 2 for 28. Rachaad White, 3 for 7. Keeft had a catch for 6 yards. And Rashad Perryman had a catch for 1 yard. So Cade Otton and Scotty Miller, your 2 leading receivers for Tampa Bay tonight. Not what I thought coming into this one.
Yeah, I thought Cade Otton did a really good job today. I thought that he made some really good plays, made one heck of a catch against, I believe it was Jalen Ramsey. That was a fantastic catch. He got the game-winning touchdown. That was fantastic to see. The young rookie's doing good. And obviously there's a drop between him and Gronk. Of course there is. There's going to be a drop between any tight end not named Gronk, besides maybe Travis Kelce. And I would say, besides that, not many other tight ends. So Cade Otton's doing his thing. He's, it's been good. He's been doing some decent work. We haven't seen much of Kyle Rudolph or Keefe in the passing game too much. It's been mainly Cade Otton, and I think the young rookie really has been doing a pretty decent job overall. In the case of Scotty Miller, he had some good moments in this game. He did drop the game-winning touchdown.
He could have been the hero. That could have been the Scotty Miller redemption arc that everybody wanted it to be, because once I know, the offense was heating up and he was steady getting receptions, I know that people were getting excited to see Scotty Miller get involved in this offense again.
Yeah, and he did have a couple of really nice catches on the sideline after the fact. So that was fine. Scotty Miller had a fine game, all things considered. It looked like he was even getting more snaps than Perriman in the end there. So they did good. They had some good moments here or there, and all in all, some young players showing up, which is always a pretty decent thing to see.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we talked about it. I want to stress this point again for anyone who may just be joining us over on the live stream here on YouTube. We mentioned it earlier in the show, but if you're the Bucs, we can sit here and talk about some of the issues with this offense, but this is where the turnaround starts, and a win cures everything. We just talked about the effect that it had on Byron Leftwich and his potential spot on the hot seat moving forward. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of points the Bucs can produce next week against Seattle, because I don't know how that game's going to go. I feel like it might be even lower scoring than this one was. But the fact of the matter is the Buccaneers have some positive momentum heading into another week of football for the first time in a long time. And I do think that's going to go a long way for this locker room, because these guys know how to win. That's the thing. They know how to win. They've done it before. They just need to find their winning ways once again, and they get back to that this week.
Yeah, they were due for a win after losing, 3 straight to the Panthers, Steelers, or to Steelers, Panthers, and Ravens. So they were due for a win. 3-6 looks a whole heck of a lot worse than 4-5. I'll tell you that much. As I said, I think Tom Brady saved Byron Leftwich's job. The offense was able to save his job in this situation. They're going to be going up against a team in Seattle that has had some really, really good coaching with Geno Smith, of all people, at quarterback. I would say that Seattle's defense is worse than the Rams. So it's not going to be a cakewalk, but it should be hopefully a more matchup more to the Bucs' favor, I guess I should say. So all in all, we'll see what they do. But like you said, the biggest thing here is that they got some momentum. They're able to at least start a turnaround. If they win next week, they're at 500, and that's pretty good. And obviously, you think about it one game at a time, but this was a huge, 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 huge win, not just for saving people's jobs, but for potentially saving the entirety of the season as well. I mean, you look at a team now like the Green Bay Packers, Rhett. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but they're what? Are they 3-6 now?
Yeah, 3-6 after losing to the 1-win Lions today.
Right. So I mean, that could have been the Bucs. They could have been in that big of a doomsday situation, folks. And again, I know it sounds overly pessimistic, but that's just to state how important this win was. This could be the turnaround, like Rhett, you were just saying. So we'll have to wait and see if the Buccaneers can use this momentum and how they utilize it moving forward.
Something I think is important to mention here regarding Tampa Bay is not only the game in Germany next week, but the bye week following that. So the Bucs kind of get, as far as, teams get their bye weeks, I'd say this is right about where you want it with a tough stretch in the schedule. Bucs are going to be going international. It's a lot of travel. That would be a lot of travel if you've got a game immediately following, the next Sunday. So they'll get a little bit of a break, and I still think they need it. Mike Evans, he took that big hit on the first drive of the game. They had to tape him back up, and he ran back into the game and played the rest of the night, but he didn't look like Mike Evans for a lot of the night. A lot of drop passes, just missed opportunities, and that has, unfortunately, become a habit for Mike Evans in these losses. That is not the Mike Evans we are used to seeing. And I'm not really sure what's going on between him and Tom Brady, but it is apparent that that connection is not 100% as good as it usually can be, as he's usually the leading force in this offense whenever they are slinging the ball around the yard. So it's one of those things where guys like Mike Evans, take some time to get better. Like Chris Godwin, I know he's been healthy, he's been back, he's been playing, but I still get the feeling that he's fighting through the rest of that injury. Kind of re-aggravated things early on in the season, sat on the injury report for a couple of weeks. I think the timing is good for Tampa Bay. Now, if you can stack up 2 wins in a row and head into the bye week 5-5, then to be honest with you, the narrative of this team turns around because you have some time to sit on the 2 wins that you have. I don't want to sit here and get ahead of ourselves because we have no idea how the Bucs are going to play next week, but you want to talk about turning your season around. This is the perfect opportunity to do it. And it's, you can go into the bye week 4-6, but you definitely wouldn't like to. I think you want to start to catch back up to the rest of the teams who are pulling away from the 3-4 win teams in the NFL. And next week is a huge shot to do it. But the bye week thereafter, I think the Bucs are hopefully going to take as much advantage of it as they can, because some guys they just got to get their heads right. It feels like, a win tonight is going to go a long way, but for a long time, I'd say for 3.5 quarters, it did feel like some guys on this offense just were checked out.
Yeah, I think the bye week after next week is huge, right? It's been a really tough past couple of games. I mean, even this game, you have 2 losses against 2 really not good teams, and now you have a hard fought win, but still a kind of ugly win. So depending on how this Seattle Seahawks game goes, if they get a good win, hey, just go into the bye week, take it easy. But if you get a loss or another ugly win, yeah, you're going to need that bye week to take some time off to reevaluate things as a coaching staff and as some players as well, involving execution and scheming and whatnot. So, yeah, not a bad bye week at all, in my opinion. I think that it is a good opportunity for the Buccaneers to kind of relax and reload in terms of their mentality and whatnot, which is, I feel, very necessary at this point. So, yeah, we'll see if they can make some changes that need to be made, because there are certainly some changes that still need to be made on the offensive side of things. Defensively, I think they're still playing really well. Just got to get better on offense right now.
Yeah, I think Byron Leftwich this week, they were giving him some heavy hitting questions the last couple of weeks, and I don't think that's going to slow down at all this week. I think people are still going to be looking for answers as to why this offense has looked the way that it has these past few weeks. And the biggest question going into next week is, what kind of adjustments are they going to make? Are they going to make any? Are they going to look at this as a win and say, yep, that was good enough, we're going to go ahead and stick with that in Germany next week? Because if that's the case, I don't think it's going to be enough to get it done. But the $1 million question moving forward is, what kind of adjustments can they make on the offensive side of the ball? James, if you're Byron Leftwich, if you're in the hot seat and you're in charge of most of the game plan, you're collaborating with your boy Tom Brady every single week in the meeting room after practice, trying to figure out how to just, add some extra pizzazz to this offense that desperately needs it. What are you drawing up? What do you think the Bucs need to hone in on to really play to the strengths of this offense, which is, what they're going to need to do here in the second half of the season?
I would take a look personally at how they're running the football, and kind of get more creative with that and change some of the situations of when they're running the football. And I would look to stretch the field more on longer plays. We haven't been seeing a ton of that throughout this year, with guys really being able to stretch the field. Like I said, we saw it on a couple of drives in this game, but overall throughout the season, it hasn't been a ton of big time plays. So that's a couple of things that I would work on in terms of scheming wise. In red zone efficiency, my gosh, they got to figure out some stuff in the red zone. So those would be the 3 things that I would look at: is situational running, finding out more ways to be able to stretch the field and use guys to the best of their abilities, because the guys that you have are stretch the field type guys where you can throw them long passes and long balls and whatnot. So I would take a look at those 2 things, and then also red zone play calling as well, which I feel like has been a pretty big issue.
Yeah, I do agree. We talk about how the Bucs have run the ball and how, even though they're averaging 20 carries a game, they're not doing very much with it just because of situational running, the short yardage situations they put themselves in. It's almost like you're wasting runs on first down. You're wasting carries with Fournette week after week when you see that it's not working on 3rd and short. And hopefully they can start to mix that up headed into next week. Another thing that I'm going to be looking at very closely Excuse me. Another thing I'll be looking at really closely with this Bucs team headed into next week is how prepared they are to play. Like, I know that sounds harsh, but the execution errors have to stop. Like, this Bucs team is better than 7 dropped passes in a game. They are better than all of these, BS penalty calls, whether it's jumping off sides, which I will say the pair of offsides penalties to start the game were a little rough. I don't think they needed to be called, but the offensive stuff on Donovan Smith, the holding, the false starts, O'Keefe on special teams with the holding, like the Jake Camarda, the 68-yard punt, right? I mean, the best punt he's had all year. He only booted it because the Bucs got backed up 3 different times just because of penalties, preventing that play from getting off. And thank God Jake Camarda had as great of a night as he did. We'll talk about that here in a second, but this team still has a lot of sloppiness that it needs to clean up. And at this point, it's unacceptable because I hate to say it, but a head coach like Bruce Arians just isn't going to put up with this stuff. And Todd Bowles has proved up until this point, it's something they're going to put up with. And that's going to hinder this team throughout the rest of the season if they don't get that cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at the penalties. I think they had 4 in the first quarter, which was tough. They did clean it up a decent amount after that. But again, that kind of falls under discipline. Guys have just got to be better. Couple of defensive offsides, couple of holdings here or there. Those are the types of things that can really make or break drives, be it for you, the opponent or yourself. So you've got to be a little bit better in regards to that. All in all, I feel like the Bucs haven't been crazy with penalties so far this year, which I feel like is a good thing. This might be one of the more egregious games they've had regarding penalties. So that was what it was. I definitely feel like things are going to improve regarding some of the penalties and get back to it being more manageable, I guess, regarding penalties and overall discipline.
Well, in the context of those penalties matters too. You like a holding call on a first down run that sets you back 5 yards. It sucks, but not a lot of people are going to care that much. But when it's Donovan Smith negating a huge play to the end zone, that's another thing in itself. When it completely kills the drive, puts you back, and you aren't really in a position to go for it and be as aggressive on 4th down as you like to. Stuff like that. Like drive killers, essentially, right when this team needs them the least. It's been killing them this year. There's been multiple instances where you can either look at where they're in the red zone or just setting themselves back in the game with needless penalties. It's got to be cleaned up. Got a $2 super chat from Dero83, said, what a great job from the punter tonight. Yeah, we're just putting him over. I know we've been talking very highly about this 2022 rookie class. Logan Hall was a little quiet tonight, but O'Keefe showed up. He was a great blocker for most of the night. Cade Otton, the rookie tight end, with the touchdown grab to seal the deal. And Jake Camarda with that 68-yard punt, or I think it was even 74 was another one that he had. I mean, just a ridiculous night that he had. And I'll say it again, he got cheated because Todd Bowles definitely should have challenged that one ball that bounced shy of the end zone. That was definitely as good of a punt as you can ask for in the NFL.
Yeah, Jake Camarda, I thought, had a really, really solid day today. There was a couple of punts that maybe he wished he could have back, but man, he had a couple of bombs today. There was 2 beautiful, beautiful punts that he had. That was really fantastic. I think a lot of people were waiting for a game from Camarda like this. And we finally got some money punts from him, which was a great thing to see. I know people would be like, why are you guys freaking out about the punter? There's some good stuff. Punting can be a big deal, knocking teams back into their own territory and field position and things along those lines. So I thought that Camarda really did a good job in helping out the team. Suckup had an okay game. He did have the one blocked kick, or not even okay, a good game besides the one blocked kick, which was, I still don't like that rule, being able to jump over the line like that and block it. I think it makes
I thought they did away with that.
So it's if you're running and you jump
and
over.
you get a running start, essentially.
If you do a standing jump, it's fine. I think that whoever made that rule forgets that these are world-class athletes and that they can do standing jumps pretty darn easily.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner in 65 pounds of NFL pads and equipment can still just stand there and leap over an NFL center whenever he wants to.
Right. So aside from that, I thought that Suckup had a really good day. He made all of his other kicks otherwise, even a 50-yarder, which is a little bit tougher.
Two kicks tonight from 50-plus yards.
Right. And those are tougher for Suckup to make. Those are certainly not gimmies. So I thought Suckup really showed up tonight, did a good job. Same with Camarda. Even Jalen Darden, I thought, has been looking more and more efficient as a returner as the weeks go on. I know some people are going to say, but he runs out of bounds all the time. Look, that is what it is. I think that the special teams has certainly improved a pretty decent amount throughout the past couple of weeks, which has been a very pleasant surprise. And it continued this week with Camarda, Suckup, and Darden in there as well.
Yeah,
I don't think Ryan Griffin was active in this game. Or Ryan Smith, was he?
I didn't see him. See him. He's wearing number 33. I didn't see him out there, but we'll have to watch the game back again and let you know for sure. Snap count should be out either tomorrow or the day after. I thought Jalen Darden probably had his best game as a Buck returner tonight. He's had a couple of other big returns in games, but I think something that we saw tonight that we don't usually see is he was consistent. I thought setting up the Bucs on that final drive of the game, he was running sideways when he shouldn't have been and took a little time off of the clock when he should have just charged ahead. But I mean, that's me nitpicking, to be honest. I thought he had one of his better career games tonight. But Ryan Suckup, man, 3 for 4 tonight, only 2 misses on the season, one of those being blocked and the other one being week 1 in Dallas, which was a longer attempt. 10 points on the board for him tonight, including the PATs. I'm getting a Ryan Suckup jersey.
Are you actually going to get one?
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to. I know they don't sell them as Suckup jerseys unless you maybe order on NFL Shop. So I might have to go custom make one at the Bucs team store. But I am 100% at some point, maybe after the season, 100% going to get a Ryan Suckup jersey because he has just been the absolute man this year. He has been everything that the Bucs have needed when called upon. You know what I mean? Those 2 misses, they're acceptable because one of them was incredibly long range. It was week 1. It is what it is. It didn't lose the Bucs the game. And the other one was blocked, so it's,
and I don't put that on Suckup.
No, it was a great play by Bobby Wagner. Basically jumped over the center and then jumped up again. Just an athletic play by number 45 for LA. But yeah, Ryan Suckup has been money this season. And he has been our main source of points, and I think he will continue to be for the rest of the year. This is one of the best years of his career so far.
Yeah, well, hopefully, Suckup isn't the main guy scoring points. Hopefully he's just more a compliment.
Yeah, well, hopefully he's not, but we'll have to see if this offense can change their ways moving forward because still some things to fix.
Yeah, but Suckup being as good as he has been has really helped keep the Bucs in games. And honestly, I like the idea of you getting a Suckup jersey. That kind of makes me want to get one too.
You should get a Camarda jersey.
Right. But no, Suckup's been really good this year, and he's been good since the Bucs signed him. He's been the most consistent kicker the Bucs have had since Connor Barth,
maybe Pat Murray.
Shout out to Chris Fisher for that one. But yeah, and that was years ago, 2015, so it's been 7-8 years of just bad kickers, and now you have Suckup here for the past couple of years, and things have been looking pretty good, and Suckup's a big reason why this team has been able to score points this year, whether he, wanted to be the reason or not, whether they wanted him to be the reason or not, he's the reason they're scoring some points in a decent bit of situations, and I think that is a great thing to see. So yeah. Hey, go Ryan Suckup, man. Special teams matters.
Yeah, it's a guy that they chose to pay and bring back. They brought in some legitimate competition in camp with the young gun, Jose Borregales. And even though he's got that young leg, he was nailing 60, 65 yarders in training camp. Even though he's got all that, he didn't step up when he needed to in the preseason. Suckup won the job fair and square. And here he is leading the team in scoring up until this point in the season. So let's wrap it up with some closing thoughts and look ahead to next week against Seattle. I think, I kind of mentioned it before, but one of the things I want to see the Buccaneers do next week is just look like a well-coached team. You know what I mean? Look like a team that has been there before. Let me see a game where I can give this coaching staff credit at the end of it for them winning the game, right? The Bucs show up ready to play. It's an international game. I know people are going to be tired from travel. That always plays a factor. You're practicing, you're doing walkthroughs over there. It's a different process, but just show up ready to play. Look like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, this coaching staff is not any different than it was last year, minus Bruce Arians. You know what I mean? Like, they have had these players in positions to win before, and they need to start doing it again here in the second half of the season. I need to see something from Todd Bowles and especially Byron Leftwich that at the end of the day I can look at and say, you know what? Like, that's good work by our coaching staff, because there hasn't been a lot of times this season where I've been able to say that.
I would say the defense has been kind of a bright spot, especially with Todd Bowles calling plays as well. So that's always an important thing to remember. They held the Rams to the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, to 13 points today.
Hey, the defending Super Bowl champion Rams are nothing, nowhere near the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And don't you forget it, buddy. If anything, this is showing me that Rams Super Bowl run was a fluke. But I didn't say that.
Well, no, again, so I mean, I think that Bowles has been doing a pretty decent job in terms of defensive play calling and making the most with some of these guys, backups who have gotten hurt and whatnot. So I think that was good. Leftwich has got to step up as OC. I mean, we have not seen it at all this year. It's been bad. And that's got to improve. I think Bowles has done a decent job in defensive play calling. And I think your point, in my opinion, would fall more under offensively, is what I would think.
Hell yeah, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with all of that being said, that's just about going to do it for this week's game recap episode of the Cannon Fire podcast. The next time we talk to you, it'll be a little bit later on this week. We'll be joined by former Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Sean King. We'll get his thoughts on the game and what the Buccaneers need to keep doing moving forward to stack some W's headed into the bye week. That show should be out here in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening. Follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Shout out once again to everybody over on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't for more great Tampa Bay Buccaneers content. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We peaked right around 400 viewers, which is absolutely incredible and a great way to cap off a Tampa Bay Buccaneers win. Bucs win once again, ladies and gentlemen. What a great feeling. We'll talk to you later this week. James, thank you for filling in this week for the suspended Evan Wanish. Not going to get into what he did. You guys may find out soon enough, but I appreciate you stepping up to the plate. Next man up mentality from our boy James, a.k.a. Mr. Bucs Nation. Where can the people find you and some of your awesome content?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Mr. Bucs Nation. Same thing on Twitter as well. I'm also writing articles at bucsnation.com. I just did an article a couple days ago about how I thought the X factor for this Bucs game was going to be Akeem Hicks. Was a little bit right to a certain degree.
Yeah, I like it.
So I do all my work there, mainly on the YouTube channel here. I know a lot of people are coming over from my channel. Thank you guys so much for that. And if you are new to Rhett's channel here, go ahead and subscribe and like this live stream that we've been doing on here for the YouTube folks. It would mean a lot to us if you were to do that. And yeah, man, next man up mentality. When I got the call, it's just something you always prepare for. I always have the headset on whenever I'm on the sidelines with y'all. And, it's something that you prep for. Sometimes people call it a clipboard, job, whatever it may be, but, whenever a guy gets suspended, got to step in. So,
yeah, well, we are grateful to have you on the roster, especially at this point in the season. Thank you once again to my buddy James. And last but not least, folks, you can find myself on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. We'll talk to you guys later on this week with former Bucs quarterback Sean King. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are first place in the NFC South. Hopefully a win next week can extend their lead as we enter the second half of the 2022 NFL season. The Bucs are 4-5, and we've got something to celebrate, at least for tonight in Tampa Bay. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off for my co-host, James Hill. We'll catch you in the next one. Until then, and as always, thanks for listening, and go Bucs.